6 months ago, I made the most terrifying decision of my life. I quit my job. I sold everything I owned. I bought a one-way ticket train from Chicago to Nashville with $8,000 in my pocket and a dream that everyone told me was foolish. For 10 years I'd worked in finance. A good job, good salary, good benefits. I was miserable every single day. My fiancée left me because, as she put it, "You don't have courage, Dylan. I know you have dreams, desires, but you just exist. Just keep doing whatever people tell you to do. You are a people pleaser." She was right. So I decided to start living. I was going to Nashville to open a music venue, a real one, where artists could play and people could feel something. But as I sat on that train, watching Chicago disappear behind me, I was paralyzed with fear. What if I was making the biggest mistake of my life? What if I failed? What if everyone was right and I was just a dreamer with no talent? Then, over the course of 8 hours, I met 3 strangers. This is the story of that night, and how a midnight train going anywhere became the journey that saved my life. Before we dive in, have you ever made a terrifying leap into the unknown? Or had a stranger say exactly what you needed to hear at exactly the right moment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love stories about chasing dreams, midnight trains, and the courage to start over, please subscribe so you don't miss our next one. Now let me tell you about the longest 8 hours of my life. I was sitting in my Chicago apartment surrounded by empty boxes, holding a train ticket and questioning every decision I'd ever made. The apartment was empty. I'd sold the furniture, donated the books, packed what little I was keeping into 2 bags and a guitar case. The guitar had been my father's. He died when I was 19, never taught me to play, died before he got the chance. But I'd kept it for 13 years, moved it from apartment to apartment, never opened the case. I was bringing it to Nashville. Maybe I'd finally learn. Maybe it would just sit in another corner gathering dust. But it felt important to bring it. My phone rang. My mother. I almost didn't answer. "Dylan, you have time to change your mind." "I'm not changing my mind, Mom." "You had a good job. A career. Brenda was a lovely girl." "Brenda left me, Mom, 6 months ago." "Because you were obsessed with this ridiculous idea. Opening a bar? You've never run a business. You don't even play music." "Mom, she left me because I spent years wanting it without the courage to chase it. And it's not a bar. It's a music venue, a place where artists can actually perform, and it's a fantasy, Dylan. You're 32 years old. You need to grow up." I looked around the empty apartment, at the life I'd dismantled. "I have to go. The train leaves in a few hours." "Dylan, please." "I love you, Mom. I'll call when I get there." I hung up. Then I sat on the floor of my empty apartment and asked myself the question I'd been avoiding for weeks. What if she's right? Chicago Union Station. 11:30 p.m. I arrived early, too nervous to sit at home. The station was quieter than during the day but still alive. A few dozen people scattered across benches, some sleeping, some staring at phones, some like me, just waiting. I found a bench near track 7, set my bags down, guitar case propped against my leg. A man sat down next to me, 50s, rumpled suit, smoking even though he wasn't supposed to. "You look like you're running away from something," he said. "I'm not running away. I'm running toward something." He laughed. "What's the difference?" I didn't have an answer. He took a drag. "Let me guess. Quit your job? Chasing some dream? Girl problems? All of the above. And now you're wondering if you're an idiot." "Pretty much." He nodded. "You probably are, but at least you're trying. Most people just wonder what if for their whole lives." He stubbed out the cigarette. "Good luck, kid." He walked away. The announcement came over the speakers. Amtrak Train 59 to Nashville, now boarding on track 7. This was it. I stood, grabbed my bags, walked toward the platform. At the door of the train, I stopped, turned around, looked back at the station, at Chicago, at everything I was leaving behind. I could still go home, Call my old boss, apologize, get my job back. Tell everyone I'd had a moment of insanity, but I was better now. It would be easy. It would be safe. It would be suffocating. I stepped onto the train. The overnight train from Chicago to Nashville takes about 8 hours. Departure at 11:47 p.m. Arrival at 7:30 a.m. I found my seat, coach class, window. The car was maybe a third full. Not many people take midnight trains on a Tuesday. I put my guitar in the overhead compartment, shoved my backpack under the seat, sat down. The train lurched forward. 11:47 p.m. exactly. Chicago began sliding past the window. Buildings, lights, streets I'd driven 1,000 times, and then we were out of the city, into darkness, heading south. I pulled out my laptop, opened the document I'd read 100 times. Olson Music House Business Plan. I'd spent 6 months on this plan. Research, numbers, projections, location scouting, everything. On paper, it made sense. Nashville was growing. Live music venues were thriving. I had enough money to lease a small space, do basic renovations, and operate for 6 months while building a customer base. On paper, it was solid, but paper doesn't account for fear, for doubt, for the voice in your head that sounds like your mother saying you need to grow up. I closed the laptop, stared out the window at the darkness rushing by. What the hell was I doing? The first stop was Champaign, Illinois. 12:30 a.m. I wasn't paying attention, just staring out the window, lost in my own anxiety. The train slowed, stopped. A few people got off, a few got on. One of them sat across from me. I glanced over. A woman, mid-20s, purple streaks in her dark hair, wearing a vintage denim jacket covered in pins and patches. And on her back, a beat-up acoustic guitar. She set the guitar down carefully, pulled out her phone, then seemed to think better of it and put the phone away. Instead, she picked up the guitar, started tuning it, quietly, barely audible. I watched her fingers work, confident, practiced. She noticed me looking, smiled. "Sorry, bad habit. I'm constantly tuning." "No, it's fine. You play professionally?" She laughed. "If you count street corners as professional, then yes." "You're a busker?" "Guilty. Street musician. Starving artist. Whatever you want to call it." She extended her hand. "Grace? Grace Todd? Dylan Olson." "Where you headed, Dylan?" "Nashville." Her eyes lit up. "Music City. Nice. Are you a musician?" "No, I'm opening a music venue. A bar, place for live music." "That's amazing. We need more venues that actually care about the music, you know, not just background noise for people getting drunk." "Yeah, that's exactly the idea." She studied me. "You don't sound very excited about it." "I am, I think. I'm terrified, honestly." "Of what?" "Failing, losing everything. Realizing I threw away a perfectly good life for a dream that doesn't work." Grace set the guitar in her lap. "Can I tell you something?" "Sure." "I make about $30 a day, on a good day. Some days I make $5. Some days I make nothing. I sleep on friends' couches. I eat ramen and yesterday's bagels from coffee shops. I have $143 in my bank account right now." That sounds hard. It is. But you know what's harder? Waking up one day and realizing you spent your whole life doing something you hated because it was safe. That's harder. I didn't know what to say. "Let me guess," she continued. "You had a good job, decent salary, benefits, probably worked in an office, and you were miserable. How did you—" "Because I see that look every day in the mirror. The 'what if I'm not good enough' look. The 'what if I fail' look." She leaned forward. "Dylan, here's the thing. You might fail. Your venue might go under in 6 months. You might lose all your money. But at least you'll have failed doing something you actually cared about. Most people fail at things they hate and call it a career. That's not super comforting. I'm not trying to comfort you. I'm trying to wake you up." She picked up the guitar, started playing softly, a melody I didn't recognize, probably one of hers. "Life's too short to spend it being responsible," she said while playing. "Responsible is just another word for scared." I listened to her play, watched her fingers move across the strings. She was talented, really talented. "Why street corners?" I asked. "You're good enough to play real venues." "I do sometimes, when I get booked. But most venues want you to bring your own crowd, and I don't have a crowd yet. So I play where people are, street corners, train stations, anywhere someone might stop and listen." "That takes guts." "No, that takes desperation," she smiled. "But also, yeah, it takes guts, because every time I play, I'm risking rejection. People walking past like I don't exist. But sometimes someone stops, and they listen. And for 3 minutes, I've made their day a little better. And that's enough." "Is it enough?" "Most days. Some days it's not. Some days I want to quit, go home, get a real job. But then I remember, I tried the real job thing. I was a receptionist for 6 months. I wanted to die every single day, so I'd rather struggle doing this than succeed doing that." The train was moving again, pulling away from Champaign back into darkness. "Where are you going?" I asked. "On this train?" "Indianapolis, crashing with a friend for a few days, then probably Louisville. I move around a lot. Go where the music takes me." "That sounds lonely?" "Sometimes, but also free." She stopped playing, looked at me seriously. "Dylan, you're going to Nashville to open a venue. That's brave. That's really brave. Don't let fear convince you it's stupid." "Everyone keeps saying it's stupid. Everyone who's too scared to chase their own dreams. Don't listen to them." She started playing again. "Listen to this instead." And she played. A beautiful, haunting melody. Original. Hers. I closed my eyes and listened. For the first time in months, I felt something other than fear. I felt hope. Indianapolis. 3:01 a.m. Grace stood up, slung her guitar over her shoulder. "This is me. Good luck with the venue, Dylan. I really hope it works out." "Wait." I pulled out my phone. "Do you have a website? Social media? I want to book you when the place opens." She smiled, pulled a pen from her jacket, wrote a phone number on a napkin. "Hit me up when you're ready. I'll play your opening night. Consider it karma." Thank you. For everything. For the conversation. Thank you for listening. Most people don't. She headed toward the door, then turned back. "Dylan?" "Yeah?" "Don't give up. The world has enough people who gave up. Be one of the ones who didn't." Then she was gone. I watched through the window as she walked across the platform. Guitar on her back, alone, heading into a city at 3 a.m. with $143 and a dream. And I thought, if she can do that, what's my excuse? I carefully folded the napkin with her number, put it in my wallet. The train sat in Indianapolis for 15 minutes. A few people got off. A few got on. An old man boarded my car, 70s, wearing a vintage suit, navy blue, well-tailored but decades old, polished shoes, and in his hand, a weathered leather case, a saxophone case. He moved slowly down the aisle, sat across from me, set the case gently on the seat beside him, like it was precious. We sat in silence as the train pulled out of Indianapolis. Then I couldn't help myself. "You play?" He looked up, smiled sadly. "Used to. Long time ago." "Jazz? How'd you know?" "My dad played trumpet. Jazz. Your dad had good taste." He extended a hand, firm grip despite his age. "Frank Hudson? Dylan Olson? Where you headed, Dylan?" "Nashville. You?" "Louisville. Visiting my son. Haven't seen him in 3 years. Figured it was time." "That's good. Family's important." Frank laughed bitterly. I spent 40 years choosing work over family. Now my wife's dead. My son barely speaks to me, and I'm 71 years old wondering where the hell my life went." I didn't know what to say to that. Frank touched the saxophone case. "I played clubs in Chicago, 1970s, 80s, small places, dive bars, basement jazz joints. We made barely any money, but God, we were alive. The music was everything." "What happened?" "I got married, had a kid. Wife said music didn't pay the bills. So I got a real job. Insurance sales." He said it like a curse. "I did that for 40 years. Did you hate it?" "Every single day. Every single day." He looked at me with dark eyes. But I told myself it was the right thing to do, the responsible thing, providing for my family. That is the right thing. Is it? My wife resented me for being miserable all the time. My son resented me for never being around. I was always working, always traveling for clients, and I resented both of them for making me give up the thing I loved. So nobody won. We were all just miserable together. He opened the case. Inside was a saxophone. Alto. Beautiful. Gold lacquer, still shining despite its age. "I still polish it," Frank said quietly. "Every week. Take it out. Oil the keys. Pretend I remember how to play. But it's been so long. You could start again. It's not too late." "It is too late. I'm 71. My hands shake. My lungs aren't what they were. I can barely play a scale anymore. But you could try. You could take lessons. Practice." Frank closed the case. "That's what my son says. He keeps telling me, 'Dad, just play.' Who cares if you're not as good as you used to be?" But I can't. Because every time I try, all I hear is what I gave up. All those years, all those gigs I could have played, all those recordings I could have made, all that time wasted. We sat in silence, the train rocking gently, darkness outside. Then Frank said, "Why are you going to Nashville?" I hesitated. Then, "I'm opening a music venue, a place for live music. I quit my job, sold everything. This is my shot." "How old are you?" 32. "You're scared. Terrified. Good. That means you're putting all your cards on it." Frank leaned forward. "Listen to me, Dylan. I'm going to tell you something I wish someone had told me when I was 32. You know what I wish more than anything?" "What?" "I wish I'd played one more year. Just one. Before I gave it all up. I wish I'd tried. Really tried. Gone on tour. Recorded an album. Failed spectacularly, if that's what was meant to happen. Instead, I played it safe, and I've regretted it every single day for 40 years. That's a long time to carry regret." "It is? And you know what the worst part is? I can't get those years back. I can't go back to 1984 and tell myself, 'Don't quit, keep playing.' It's gone, all of it. Gone." He looked directly at me. "But you're not me. You're 32. You still have time. Whatever you're doing, whatever this venue is, don't stop. Don't wait. Don't tell yourself you'll do it later. Later becomes never. What if I fail? At least you'll fail trying. I failed by giving up. That's so much worse." Louisville, Kentucky, 5:01 a.m. The train slowed. Frank stood, picked up his saxophone case. "This is me. Good luck, Frank, with your son." "Thank you. And Dylan?" "Yeah? When your venue opens, if you need a saxophone player, call me. Even if I'm rusty, even if I'm terrible. I'd like to play one more gig before I die." "Oh, Frank, you are still young. You can play lots of gigs, and I'd be honored." Frank smiled. "Good. Don't forget." He walked off the train. I watched him through the window. A man carrying a saxophone case, walking into the dawn, going to see a son who might not forgive him, but trying anyway. I pulled out my phone, opened my photos, found the one I'd been avoiding. Brenda, my ex-fiancée, taken a year ago. She was smiling. I was smiling. We looked happy. We weren't. Not really. She'd said I had no courage, that I was just going through the motions, that she couldn't spend her life with someone who was half alive. I'd been half alive for years, maybe my whole life, but not anymore. I deleted the photo. The train started moving again as I realized I hadn't gotten Frank's number. 5:30 a.m., somewhere between Louisville and Nashville. I couldn't sleep, too wired, too much in my head. I walked to the back of the train, the last car. It was nearly empty, just a few people scattered in seats. In the very back row, a woman sat alone, staring out the window, crying. I almost turned around, didn't want to intrude, but something stopped me. She looked broken. I approached slowly. "Hey, sorry, are you okay?" She wiped her eyes quickly. "I'm fine. Sorry, I didn't think anyone else was back here." "It's okay." I couldn't sleep. I paused. "Do you want to talk, or I can leave you alone, whatever you need?" She looked at me, assessing. Then, "You really want to hear my problems?" "I've got 2 hours until Nashville. I'm happy to listen." She studied me for a moment longer, then nodded. "Okay, sit." I sat across from her. Her name was Harper Higgins, 28 years old. "I left my boyfriend 3 days ago," she said. "Ex-boyfriend now, I guess. We were together 4 years. He was controlling. At first I thought he just cared a lot, wanted to protect me. But it got worse. He isolated me from my friends, from my family. Said they were bad influences. That's not protection. That's abuse. I know that now. But at the time, I don't know. I convinced myself it was love, that he just cared so much it came out wrong. When did it get physical?" She looked surprised. "How did you know it got physical?" "Because it always does. Control escalates." She nodded. 2 years in. First time he shoved me. Said it was an accident, that I'd startled him. I believed him. Then it happened again. And again. By the end, he was hitting me regularly, but always where people wouldn't see. Arms, stomach, back. "Why didn't you leave sooner?" "Because I was scared. He said if I left, I'd have nothing. No money. He controlled all our finances. No place to go. I'd lost touch with everyone. No one would want me. I was damaged goods, according to him, and part of me believed him." "What changed?" Her hand went to her cheek. Instinctive. 3 days ago, he hit me, in the face, split my lip, and I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman looking back at me. And I thought, if I don't leave now, I never will. So I waited until he left for work, packed one bag, and walked out. "Where are you going?" "Nashville. My sister lives there. I haven't talked to her in 2 years. He didn't let me, but I called yesterday. She said I could stay as long as I need." "That's good. That's really good." "Is it? Because I have $86. No job, no plan. I'm terrified." "Huh?" "But you left. That's the hardest part." "It feels like leaving was the easy part. Now I have to figure out how to actually live, how to survive, how to not go back." "You won't go back." "How do you know?" "Because you're on this train, and you called your sister. Because you left when it would have been easier to stay. That takes strength." She laughed bitterly. "I don't feel strong. I feel like I'm falling apart." "Strength isn't not being scared. It's being scared and doing it anyway." She wiped her eyes again. "Why are you being so nice to me? You don't even know me." "Because you need someone to be nice to you. And because—" I paused. "Because I'm terrified too." "Of what?" "I quit my job 2 weeks ago, sold everything I own. I'm going to Nashville to open a music venue even though I've never run a business in my life. And I'm not even a musician. I have $8,000 in a dream. And I'm fucking terrified I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. Then why are you doing it?" I smiled. 2 people tonight, strangers on this train, told me the same thing. Don't give up. Don't play it safe. Don't spend your life wishing you'd tried. And I realize they're right. I've spent 32 years playing it safe, and I've been miserable. So I'm done being safe. Harper looked at me for a long time. Then she said, "Do you think we're brave or stupid?" "I may be both, but I'm sure you are brave." She smiled for the first time. "You're right. About everything. I did the hard thing. I left. Now I just have to keep going." "Same." We sat in silence. The sun was rising outside, orange and pink streaks across the sky. Nashville was close now. 7:30 a.m. Nashville Union Station. The train slowed, pulled into the station. I grabbed my bags, my guitar, stood in the aisle. Harper was next to me. "Thank you for listening and caring. Good luck with the venue." "Good luck with everything. With your sister, with starting over." "Starting over." She smiled. "I like the sound of that." We stepped off the train together. Onto the platform. Nashville morning. Clear blue sky. Harper's sister was waiting. She ran forward. Hugged Harper so tightly they almost fell over. "I'm so glad you're safe," the sister said. "I'm so glad you called." Harper was crying. "Me too." I walked past them, gave them privacy, headed toward the station exit. At the door I stopped, turned back, looked at the train. It was just a train, metal and steel, but it had carried me from one life to another. From fear to, not fearlessness, but action despite fear. The conductor was on the platform. Older man, maybe 50s, he saw me looking, nodded. I nodded back. He called out, "First time in Nashville?" "Yeah." "Good luck, son. Whatever you came here for. I hope you find it." "Me too." I turned, walked out of the station, into Nashville, into sunlight, into uncertainty, into possibility. 6 months later, Olson Music House. The sign glowed in the Nashville night. Blue neon. Simple but beautiful. Inside, the venue was packed. Opening night. 100 people crammed into a space meant for 80. Standing room only. I stood at the bar, wiping down glasses, trying to calm my nerves. This was it. 6 months of work. Renovations, permits, marketing, sleepless nights, drained bank accounts. And now, opening night. If this failed, I had nothing. No backup plan, no safety net. But if it worked, the lights dimmed. The crowd quieted. I stepped onto the small stage, tapped the microphone. "Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Dylan Olson. 6 months ago, I was sitting in an office in Chicago doing work I hated. Today, I'm here, living a dream I almost gave up on." Applause. Tonight's opening act is someone special, someone who taught me that it's better to fail doing what you love than succeed doing what you hate. Please welcome Grace Todd. Grace walked onto the stage, guitar slung over her shoulder, hair still streaked with purple, smiling. She sat on a stool, adjusted the microphone, started playing. The room fell silent. Her voice filled the space, raw, honest, beautiful. I stood at the back, watching, proud. Someone tapped my shoulder. I turned. An old man stood there, navy suit, weathered leather case in his hand. "Frank?" "Surprise." He smiled. "My son moved here, last month. We're working things out. Slowly. And I heard about a new music venue opening. Thought I'd check it out." "I'm so glad you came." "Me too." "And Dylan?" "Yeah?" "I've been taking lessons. Twice a week? I'm rusty as hell, but I'm playing again. For the first time in 40 years, I'm playing again." "That's amazing." "It's because of that conversation on the train. It woke something up in me, reminded me it's not too late." He tapped the case. "So if you ever need a saxophone player..." "I'd be honored. Seriously, I meant what I said on the train." "Good. Because I meant it too." 11 p.m., last song of the night. Grace finishing her set. The crowd was buzzing, energy high, success. I stepped outside for air, leaned against the brick wall. Nashville night, music drifting from every direction. "Dylan!" I turned. A woman stood there, late 20s. Familiar. "Harper? Oh my God, it is you!" She smiled. "I live 3 blocks from here. Saw the flyers. Had to come see if it was the same Dylan from the train. How are you? Are you okay?" "I'm good, really good. Got a job at a coffee shop around the corner. Tiny apartment, but it's mine. I'm safe, and I'm happy." "I'm so glad. And you did it." She looked at the sign. "Olson Music House. You actually did it." 6 months of chaos, but yeah, opening night was tonight. I heard the music from my apartment. Sounded incredible. Grace Todd is amazing, by the way. Where'd you find her? On the train, that same night. She was the first person I met. Harper smiled. Of course she was. Life has a sense of timing, doesn't it? It really does. We stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Nashville night sounds around us. Distant music, laughter from a bar down the street. Then Harper said, "Dylan, you know what? That conversation on the train. When I was crying and you sat down. I was thinking about going back to him, calling, apologizing, because starting over felt impossible. But you reminded me why I left. You reminded me I was brave. And I've thought about that conversation almost every day since. We helped each other." "We did." Harper shifted her weight. A little nervous. "So, this might be forward, and you can absolutely say no, but would you want to get coffee sometime? I mean, I work at a coffee shop, so I can get us a discount." She laughed. That sounded better in my head. I smiled. "I'd like that. I'd really like that." "Yeah?" "Yeah. I've been so buried in getting this place open that I haven't really, I don't know, connected with anyone. It'd be nice to talk to someone who gets it. Someone who took the same leap." "Exactly." She pulled out her phone. "Here, put your number in. I'll text you. Maybe this week, if you're not too swamped with the venue." I took her phone, added my contact, handed it back. "This week sounds perfect." "Good." She smiled, a little shy, a little hopeful. "I should let you get back. I'm sure you have a million things to do." "Probably, but I'm glad you came. I'm glad you're doing well." "I'm glad you are too." She smiled, waved, walked down the street. I watched her go, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not just hope for the venue, not just pride in what I'd built, but possibility. For something more. For connection. For maybe, eventually, something real with someone who understood what it took to start over. 1 a.m. Venue closed. Everyone gone. I stood alone on the street, looking up at the sign. Olson Music House. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "Saw photos of your opening on Instagram. Place looks amazing. Congrats. Brenda." I read it, then put my phone away without responding. I didn't need her approval anymore. Didn't need anyone's approval. I'd done it. I'd chased the dream. I'd taken the risk. And it worked. I thought about the train, about Grace and Frank and Harper. 3 strangers who changed my life in 8 hours. Grace, who taught me that living with passion beats dying with security. Frank, who taught me that regret for not trying is worse than regret for failing. Harper, who taught me that courage isn't fearlessness. It's action despite fear. So I walked home. Through Nashville streets, music everywhere. For the first time in my life, I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Not because the path was easy, but because I didn't stop believing it was possible. Have you ever taken a leap into the unknown that terrified you? Or had a stranger say exactly what you needed to hear at the perfect moment? Share your story in the comments below. If this story about midnight trains, chasing dreams, and finding courage in unexpected places touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe for more meaningful stories every day. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss our next inspiring tale. Thanks for watching.